A mercenary with a mouth, a tragic diagnosis, and a love story that refuses to quit. The first Deadpool movie bends the superhero genre until it cackles, mashing together ultraviolence, romance, and a running commentary that speaks directly to the audience. In this long-form recap, we will walk through the film beat by beat, highlighting character arcs, set-piece gags, and fourth-wall jokes while stopping before the final showdown. It is a detailed tour of how Wade Wilson becomes Deadpool, why he cannot let go of Vanessa, and how the film gets away with making fun of itself without losing its heart. You will get a thorough recap of Deadpool that is structured for a long voiceover. We will cover four strands in parallel. 1. Wade's backstory and his relationship with Vanessa. 2. The secret program that breaks him and accidentally makes him unkillable. 3. The revenge campaign against Ajax and Angel Dust. And 4. The meta humor that keeps puncturing the seriousness. We will include scene-specific gags and side jokes, and we will leave out the climax. All paragraphs are complete, so you can drop this script straight into your editing workflow and only add the real timestamps later. Deadpool's tone is irreverent and self-aware. Wade Wilson is a sarcastic mercenary whose moral compass points toward protecting the vulnerable in his own chaotic way. Vanessa is equally sharp, a survivor who matches Wade joke for joke and becomes his anchor. Ajax, born Francis, is a calm sadist who runs a laboratory that turns desperate people into weapons. Angel Dust is his powerhouse enforcer. Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead arrive from the X-Men side of the world as the voices of responsibility and restraint. And then there is Dopinder, the earnest taxi driver, and Blind Al, Wade's roommate with a drier wit than sandpaper. With the cast in place, the movie opens by taking aim at itself. Over a frozen tableau of chaos, the opening credits refuse to list real names. Instead, you see starring God's Perfect Idiot, featuring a British villain, written by the real heroes here and produced by some asshats. Coffee spins in the air, bullets hang mid-flight, and a lighter floats past a thug's terrified face. The joke lands before a single line of dialogue. This movie will not take the usual superhero pageantry seriously. Time snaps back to real speed. Deadpool drops into an SUV full of armed men, kicks, slices, and wisecracks like he trained with a stunt team and a stand-up coach at the same time. He counts his bullets, announces when he is out, and still manages to win by using the environment as a weapon. The choreography sells him as lethal and ridiculous in equal measure. He pins a man to the billboard, rides another like a human sled, and pauses to complain about a smudge on his mask. Between strikes, he turns to camera to make sure the audience is following the plot. It is violence framed as slapstick, and it sets up a mystery. Why is Deadpool hunting these particular goons? A flash of how he gets there. Deadpool rides with Dopinder, a sweet-natured cab driver who admits to romantic problems. Wade gives terrible advice with fake sincerity, encourages Dopinder to fight for love, and tips with a high five more than with cash. He also forgets his bag of guns in the trunk, which becomes a running problem. The scene introduces a recurring pattern. Even when the plot turns grim, the movie pauses for absurd, human moments that make Wade feel like a real person who just happens to be a cartoon tornado in combat. We rewind to Wade's life before the mask. Sister Margaret's School for Wayward Children is not a school at all but a mercenary bar with a chalkboard called the Deadpool, where regulars bet on how one another might die. Weasel, the bartender and Wade's closest friend, narrates the room with insults, calling out everyone's bad decisions like a sports commentator. Wade takes small jobs that let him bully bullies. He terrifies a stalker with a knife and a smile, then leaves a warning that is half joke, half promise. The tone is foul-mouthed but moral. Wade's violence has rules. Vanessa and Wade meet at the bar in a duel of sarcasm. They try to one-up each other's worst childhood memories as if trauma is a party game. It sounds awful and comes out oddly tender because each recognizes a survivor in the other. Their relationship ignites fast. What follows is a domestic comedy montage across holidays. Halloween costumes that escalate, a Thanksgiving that ends in a playful food fight, and a running joke of improper gifts that would embarrass an elf. The montage ends not with a ring but with a sense that they have chosen each other fully, which makes the turn to tragedy hurt that much more. Wade collapses. The doctors confirm multiple cancers. He tries to hold it together with gallows humor, but Vanessa's tears cut straight through the bit. She vows to be there for every treatment, for every bad day. Wade hears that promise and spirals, terrified of becoming a burden. You can see the decision forming behind his eyes. If there is any way to save her from watching him die, he will take it, even if it is a terrible idea. Back at Sister Margaret's, a clean-cut stranger approaches Wade with an offer that sounds like a miracle wrapped in a sales pitch. A program can cure his cancer and unlock hidden potential, he says. Wade jokes about super suits and superhero names, but the recruiter's tone is businesslike. Weasel senses danger. Vanessa senses omission. Wade hides the offer, and then after one final night that he treats like a goodbye without saying the word, he slips away to join the program. His mistake is not just leaving, it is leaving without trust. The program is a factory for weaponized people. Ajax, who insists on being called by his chosen name rather than Francis, runs it like a gentleman's club for cruelty. Angel Dust enforces with silent strength. The process is simple and monstrous: crush the body until a mutation fights back. Wade is strapped to a gurney, dunked in chemical baths, deprived of air in a pressure chamber, and mocked for sport. He replies with a river of insults that almost make Ajax laugh. The audience is invited to wonder whether the humor protects Wade or just keeps him from falling apart. The oxygen deprivation chamber becomes the turning point. As Wade suffocates night after night, something inside him finally snaps toward survival. His healing factor wakes up like a switch has been pulled. Skin knits itself, bones reset, tumors vanish, so does the face he once knew. The process leaves him covered in scars that look like fire froze in place. Ajax reveals the truth: the program never planned to make him a hero. It makes super-powered slaves to sell to the highest bidder. Wade's last tether to hope breaks. Wade engineers a desperate breakout. He shatters the chamber, fights Ajax with renewed fury, and sets the facility on fire. The brawl is raw and clumsy, more survival than choreography. When Ajax pins him and promises a cure for his face that he never intends to give, Wade sees red in more ways than one. The building collapses around them. Ajax slips away. Wade crawls out of the ashes with a body that will not die and a life he no longer recognizes. Ashamed to face Vanessa, Wade vanishes into a cheap apartment he shares with blind Al, a no-nonsense older woman whose sight may be gone but whose wit is surgical. She roasts Wade without mercy, critiques his interior decorating, and calls out his avoidance of Vanessa as cowardice. Their dynamic keeps the movie from wallowing. When Wade feels like a monster, Al treats him like a roommate who needs to do laundry and stop hiding behind sarcasm. Wade decides if the face cannot change, the world will get a new one. He scraps together a red and black suit designed to hide scars and show flair. The training montage doubles as comedy of errors: uneven stitching, a mask that rides up, guns that jam because he forgot to clean them. By the end, the costume fits his movement like a second skin, and the name Deadpool sticks because the bar's betting board needed a mascot. The persona lets him walk into rooms that Wade Wilson would avoid. It is both escape and weapon. Deadpool starts at the bottom of Ajax's network and works upward. He dangles a thug off a bridge until the man gives up a name, only to realize he is 2 names short of the one he really wants. He interrogates a tough guy in a laundromat, pauses the threat to complain about mixing red and white socks, and then resumes with a wink. He counts bullets out loud during a shootout: 1, 2, 3, until he runs dry and has to improvise with knives and headbutts. Each scene pushes the plot and lands a joke that comments on the plot, which is the movie's favorite trick. We sync back up with the opening ambush. Deadpool flips into the SUV, pins a goon with his own knife, and finally corners Ajax. He takes a moment for a victory pose and a petty speech that he pretends is noble. Before he can force answers, a massive metal hand clamps down on his shoulder. The tone changes not because Deadpool is scared, but because he is annoyed. The cavalry has arrived, and they did not bring a sense of humor. Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead make an official, overly polite arrest attempt. Colossus pleads with Deadpool to consider redemption and public service. Negasonic rolls her eyes so hard it could count as an attack. Deadpool refuses on principle and on brand. He punches Colossus, breaks his own hand, switches hands, breaks that one too, and then tries a flying kick that shatters his ankle. Between yelps, he tells the audience that this is why you do not skip leg day. The gag is as important as the scuffle. Deadpool is unkillable but not invincible, and he treats pain like a setup for a joke. Realizing he cannot win a wrestling match with a walking statue, Deadpool saws off his own hand to slip free of Colossus's grip and tumbles into a garbage truck. Later, at Blind Al's apartment, the hand grows back in miniature. He waves the baby hand at Al with mock pride and warns her the rest will soon match. The scene manages to be disturbing, hilarious, and oddly tender. It also buys the story time to reset the stakes. Deadpool is alive, Ajax is still out there, and Wade still has not faced Vanessa. Deadpool once again rides with Dopinder, who took Wade's earlier advice about fighting for love far too literally. The result sits in the trunk. Deadpool tries to pivot into a motivational speech that somehow makes everything worse. The gag is dark, but it underscores a theme: Wade's swagger is not wisdom, real responsibility is messier than a quip. Ajax learns about Vanessa and realizes he can hurt Deadpool without touching him. Wade shadows Vanessa from a distance, repeatedly almost revealing himself and then shrinking back behind a joke or a disguise. Weasel for once drops the sarcasm and tells Wade the truth: hiding is not protection, it is surrender. Wade decides to stop running from who he is. At that moment, the story tightens. The villain has found the hero's heart, and the hero knows it. By now, the movie has stacked a library of running bits. Deadpool mocks studio budgets by pointing out the mansion is always empty except for two X-Men. He references other superhero misfires, including a green suit joke that doubles as an apology in Dare. He insults his own leading man face with an avocado meta-worse avocado comparison and lets Weasel pile on with insults that sound like stand-up roasts. He keeps a stuffed unicorn as a ridiculous comfort object and treats Doppender's taxi as a confession booth. None of these jokes derail the plot, they flavor it, making the world feel consistent with the character's voice. The movie's structure bounces between present-day action and flashbacks. Each return to the freeway or the apartment reframes what you saw earlier with new context. The photography is crisp and colorful, letting the red suit pop without turning the violence into sludge. The music swings from needle drops that should not belong in a fight scene to orchestral swells that mock the idea of a serious superhero score. The editing leaves punchlines room to breathe, and still keeps the action legible. It is a comedy that respects craft and an action film that respects timing. Under the jokes is a serious spine. Wade's healing factor cures his cancer but destroys his sense of self. The mask is not just concealment, it is a tool for agency. He can be fearless when he chooses to be Deadpool in a way that Wade cannot while he is grieving what he lost. The love story matters because it keeps the stakes human. Revenge is not enough without someone to return to. The film argues for a messy kind of heroism, one where doing the right thing happens in the same breath as saying the wrong thing. All paths now point toward a confrontation that will test Wade's new identity, his relationship with Vanessa, and his uneasy alliance with would-be mentors. We stop here by design. No spoilers for the endgame tactics, no play-by-play of the last set piece. You have a complete build-up, the love that started it, the experiment that twisted it, the mask that preserved it, and the vendetta that drives it. The rest belongs to your audience pressing play on the movie itself. To recap, Wade Wilson becomes Deadpool through pain, humor, and a refusal to behave. He fights bullies in bars and on freeways, loves Vanessa with the energy of a man who finally found a home, and hunts Ajax because some injustices do not get forgiven. He breaks the fourth wall because honesty is his last superpower. This script gives you everything up to the doorstep of the finale, in finished paragraphs ready for voiceover. Add your timestamps from your copy of the film and you have an hour-long, gag-rich recap that captures Deadpool's chaos without spoiling his last move.